Continue with election coverage. Domestic and international observers will be playing a very crucial role in ensuring that our 2019 elections are transparent, free and fair, and that the outcome is accepted by voters, political parties and candidates. The SADC region unveiled its mission earlier today. SABC News foreign editor Sophie Mokoena was there. A very good evening to you, Sophie. So what was said when they unveiled the SADC observer mission, electoral observer mission?
The head of the mission, Minister Joseph Malanji from Zambia, indicated that they are here to ensure that South Africans are able to exercise their right freely, and therefore they are here to observe the elections.
Did they express any concerns about the atmosphere ahead of the elections?
Yes, they did, particularly on issues of protest and xenophobic attacks. You are aware that in some parts of the country, some few weeks ago, we saw some pockets of xenophobic attacks. And when you are not in South Africa, and you are watching television from outside South Africa, perhaps the international network, and you're looking at the social media, you might think that the whole country is engulfed into these protests and the killings and the fighting, and only to find that perhaps it's just a pocket of such incidents, and therefore some observers are not willing to go to areas where there were reports of xenophobic attacks. But they indicated that they are going to speak to the Minister of International Relations, they are going to engage the Minister of Police and also political parties to try and find a solution, but also to ensure that when observers are deployed in those areas, they are protected and there is security. So it's quite disturbing. It speaks also to the image of the country. It might be easy when you're in South Africa, when we engage in such activities, but you'll realize later the damage it has on the image of the country, even to investors.
Did they express any other concerns other than that?
Well, the other issue is that the weather. You are aware that the SADC region is experiencing heavy rains and cyclones. You can't predict what's likely to happen next week. You can just estimate and perhaps prepare to a certain extent, but you cannot really be guaranteed that nothing is going to happen. You saw what happened in Mozambique, the second cyclone it has never happened before, and this is happening right now. You saw what happened in KZN. We are still dealing with the aftermath of the floods in KZN, and I am definitely sure some of those areas you do have voting stations. Therefore, the IEC and maybe the Department of Home Affairs, all those who are really involved in preparations of elections will have to plan or to come up with strategies in terms of how they handle that. And I think that's another main issue. But from my observation, I have serious reservations in terms of how the international community tends to deploy the international observers. I mean, the numbers, I don't know, perhaps people are naive, because South Africa is regarded as the most progressive democracy, and therefore you don't expect anything. I mean, to deploy 49 people to observe elections in South Africa, where you have 22,000, almost 23,000 voting stations, 9 provinces, a province like Eastern Cape, Northern Cape, it's quite big. Doesn't make sense.
But to be sure, we do note that there are other observer missions, international and national, that are going to be here, that we're going to be covering as well.
Yes, indeed, we are waiting to hear from the African Union, we are waiting to hear from the Commonwealth, the European Union, and some of the NGOs around the continent, but also internally we do have NGOs that are willing or who are accredited to observe the elections. But from international community, I think the important ones, it's SADC, AU, Commonwealth, and the European Union.
Sophie Mokoena, SABC foreign editor. We'll be back after the break.